What's going on, everybody? I had a fun one here. I had someone reach out, and I thought I would use it as a case study here for V2. So V2 is a very, very powerful tool. However, it may be a bit of a robust one to get used to, especially for the idea of the robustness, and especially if you're new or you're coming from another platform, things are done a little bit more differently. In the fact that we try to make it easier and we try to divvy it out almost as a tools type infrastructure, which may be a little bit confusing here in the beginning, but I'm going to set aside here. We're going to completely use this as a case study. We're going to go through it. All right. And this should give you an idea of where everything goes. I'll explain along the way. This is going to be a longer video, but this should give you really, 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 at least to the degree of a build like this, keen insight into V2 and how to build these robustly, because there is a slight different cadence, nothing crazy. But you keep it a lot simpler, and we use a lot of post-processing to help out. So it's kind of an analysis paralysis thing, but I'll quit talking. I'm going to re-up on a fresh Red Bull, and we'll get started with this one. Okay, so cracking open a fresh one here. So this comes from a friend of mine, Ben, who runs an agency, and some of the things that are coming from, again, coming from another platform, not that any of this cadence is wrong at all. It's not. It's actually the fact that someone's pretty familiar with an AI tool is very, very cool. But I'm going to show you where we can relocate these things to be a bit more powerful, to be more usable, more reliable. So we'll get right into it. This one's just going to be a simple qualifying and booking. I think we may add in. I have some stuff here. Some stuff about potentially adding in some tags and some value extractions. And I'm trying to just go through everything here. And maybe book to a third-party calendar. And so I'll show that as well, because we're going to have to do a little bit of coding on that one, but I'll show, at least maybe not in this video, but I'll show you how you can use third-party stuff like Calendly pretty easily with this. So just taking a look at this one, which I know it's definitely a language I don't speak, so we'll have to. I already let them know that I'm gonna convert it to English, make sure we're testing, and then do the one or two things we need to convert it back. But just at a glance, a larger prompt can definitely affect the way an AI thinks, right? Like we like to think of artificial intelligence as this, omnipotent being that is very, very intelligent, and artificial intelligence is what it is. It's intelligent, but it can also get very, very confused. Especially us as humans have a problem communicating very, very well, especially in the way a computer understands. And so I'll walk through a couple ways here that some things, some do's, some don'ts, some things you can do to simplify this, and some things you can do. So if you have one that's generating long responses, maybe not using verbiage that you love, how you can manipulate that and have it do exactly what you need it to. Okay, so this is going to be a chat-based one, and so I'm just looking here on the account. Looks like we have this assistant with the prompt filled out. Looks like we may have a knowledge base hooked up to it. That's fine. And okay, we have a calendar for testing. We have some tools attached, and we have our knowledge base attached. And it looks like everything else may be where it needs to be. I may bring this temperature up a little bit just to be a little bit more creative on the responses. Like 0.3, 0.35 is a strong suit for temperature, so that should be fine. And I'm going to bring these max tokens up just for the idea of a tangible response, because this is like setting a max for the output of like the actual AI model itself. It'll actually like stop in the middle of a response. Like you can set max tokens, and like if it has to answer a question that does like take more than some odd many tokens, it'll just kind of cut the answer off. So I like to set 1250 is a good one. I think out of the box it should be set there. I don't think we're messing with voice on this one. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open up another tab, and I'm going to get a Google Doc going. And not necessarily a step, but I do want to have, even though we have the version saved on this one, so I could just pull a a past version from the version history. I don't think we will do that on this one. I'm just going to have this here for reference. So, some immediate things or some just things I'll say when it comes to prompting. Our prompt builder definitely needs to be trained a little bit more, but it's more so meant to be a baseline. If you have, when you build your AI, it's meant to be a baseline for you to go in there and say, okay, well, I still need this qualifying question. And it's meant for more so those who, really don't care about building an AI nonetheless. Like it works. But if you want to get in here and start to shape this thing, really to what you need, then a little tweaking here there. I'm going to show you. And the biggest rule here is you have to kiss these things, and not literally, but keep it simple, stupid, right? The terminology kiss it. The AI, especially with some of the tools we have on there, you can manipulate some of the custom tools and things like that for context injection and all. But when it comes to your prompt, you want to give the AI as little as possible as far as instruction, but just be very, very concise in what you say. And so for this one, I also see some formatting, which this is for those who don't know, this is like bolding. And we'll take a lot of this out because we can clean this up. And there's also some style things here. So we have style 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which in AI, in AI thought that is that's more of a sequence type thing rather than bullet points. And so we just need to get in the mind of a computer here, and I'm going to start from complete scratch. Now I'm going to start with your identity. Actually, identity. All right. And you're like, oh my gosh. That's why I saved it in the Google Doc. So the reason I wanted to get rid of that is because I think we can redact all of this down, maybe into like a paragraph or two of prompt, and probably accomplish a little bit more focus out of this, and then use the tools in the surrounding context to do the rest of this. And so I may take this identity and rewrite it here. And I could use the generate prompt, I could use all that, but I wanted to walk through this, like hands-on to kind of show you, a build out here of, especially some things that I can kind of throw your way as context, because it's not only just for like this platform specifically, it's all AI. And I think I may have prefaced before too, I see a lot of people coming from other systems and, going a bit too much because that's what they had to do to make things work on other systems. But we do, we try to keep the tech stack lean to make sure that when you build AI, you can keep it really simple. And so we are going to teach a computer how to identify itself, and you can call this identity or persona, but we're going to teach the computer who it is, what role it is to play. We'll say you are Bella, an AI assistant, and I'll just copy this over. All right. And, like I said, longer video here, but I think we'll go over cadence of where to put things to. And again, this is just general for AI, but there's some stuff you put in identity, there's some stuff you put in response guidelines, and there's some verbiage changes that we need to make to talk to this computer as well, because of the way computers think. So we have an identity, so we have Bella, and we're going to say Bella's job is to, let's see, converse, qualify, and book appointments. We'll say converse, qualify, collect information about the user, and book appointments. All right, so we've just kind of given it an identity. Say you're Bella. This is what you do. And we'll kind of elaborate that here. I'm just reading through. This will be in the response guideline, the most of the rest of the stuff. Okay. We'll say Bella is We'll say Bella prefers to respond concisely with the user. It's always funny when you're prompting AI and you're kind of setting this tone of like there's a cadence to the way you do it, right? There's clear definite roles in an AI conversation. There's the assistant, there's the user, and then there's us who technically counts as the system or tool call data, whatever you want to call it. So every time I'm coming in here doing this, I think of that. It puts the lotion on the skin thing because that's kind of how you have to talk to it. Because we're letting it know we're giving it a character and we're saying play this character, and so we'll say Bella prefers to respond concisely and casually with the user. Bella treats the user as let's say responds to the user as if they are an old friend. Bella also maintains a professional tone conversing with the user. Okay. So I think that's fine for a quick and clear identity. So it looks like we have some style guidelines, response guidelines. Yeah, a lot of this we can redact down. And I will say, just while we're here on like verbiage to talk to AI, there's like it's an anomaly with AI and in different computers and things like this. When you say don't do something, and humans are like this too. If everybody's ever told you like, hey, don't eat the last slice of pizza in the fridge, it just makes you want to do it more. AI is like actually no different than that. So sometimes people come in here to prompt or to kind of instruct their assistant to do a specific thing or to not do a specific thing. And what they do is they actually cause that thing to happen because they're kind of putting it in its face. And you got to think like these things are not like omnipotent intelligent beings. Like they're just a computer finding like relevant text that goes together. So when you put that text in there, it makes it more relevant. And so when it comes to something like this, just kind of as here a side note, when we don't want it to do something, right? You could do like avoid, and I use this sometimes in mine as like avoid doing this specific thing if it comes up quite often. But what we would rather do in situations like this is to let it know what to do. So if we see something where it's like avoid English in German conversations, then we want to say make sure you always respond in German. Things like that, right? Is we want to, because of the idea of how these things think, we want to put the information, almost, it's like the thing of like, hey, don't do that. It makes you want to do it. Put it in its face of what it should do, makes it want to do it more. And as we're just going through here, this example conversation, this is something I would put in the knowledge base. So we do knowledge a little bit different. Is that we take advantage of embedding to put context in all the conversation. So what I'll probably end up doing is throwing this in a text, a text file in the knowledge base, and that should automatically give it that context because it'll match the relevancy of when a user responds or the contact responds. It'll reference the database for traditional answers or correlation to those things, and then feed it to the AI's context. And so things like example conversations, things like example verbiage can be put in the knowledge base, and it makes it a ton more relevant here. And so I think what we could do here is we've greet the user. Sorry, I'm just looking through here to make sure we're covering everything. All right, so we need a style guideline, a response guideline, and our task-based framework. So I'm going to steal a response guideline and a style guideline from one I have real quick, and we'll throw that in there. Okay, so I just threw an example one I had in here, just a style guide, rails, and response guidelines here. Now I will probably take one or two of these things out because this one is a bit more catered to voice, but it should be something around here in the same. And so another thing that I'll cover here is like, when you're prompting or when you're talking, because that's basically what you're doing is you're kind of having this almost like pep talk. That's what your instruction or your prompt is with the AI. Is you're giving it this talk of like, here's your instructions, here's what you should do, here's what I don't want you to do. And there's a little bit of a cadence to this, right? And so you'll see like there's different ways of doing it. There's like, a paragraph here, sometimes you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sometimes you'll see dash dash dot dot. And you're like, well, which one is the right one? And I'll say like immediately there's no right or wrong necessarily, but there is ones that cater to the situation a little bit better to how the computer understands what you're asking of it. And the way I like to do it is on things like, an identity, just give it a paragraph conversationally like, hey, you're this person, you prefer this and you like this and you talk like this and you do this. But if we're setting something like a guardrail or a guideline, you can do it, almost in this like, bullet point type way without the bullet points, or you can add the bullet points this way, and it's still just as relevant there. When I would use things like numbers here is when I'm doing something that needs to be done in sequence. So a task-based framework of like, you need to do this first, this second, this third, just so it understands like hierarchy. But if I'm just doing something like, hey, this is like, you should follow all these with no hierarchy, then it's going to be something like this, or like, like a bullet point like that, right? And so we have a response guideline in there, we have our style guide rails, and we have our identity here. We'll obviously come back to response guidelines to make sure that this thing is communicating in German as needed, but for testing, it's going to have to be English. I don't know German, so let's take a look at this. So I'm just going to bring this in here. And just so you maybe can see this better, is I'll open this up here. And it looks like we have our appointment request process. Okay, collect user information, add a tag and a note. Okay, finalize the appointment. Summarize the conversation. Okay. Task flow. We'll work off this one. And, we see like bolding and stuff like this here. Now these are like, if you look up, prompting and things like this, or you understand, so this is just marked down. So like if I go to Google Doc, for example, and I do this is technically what the AI sees, right? It sees bold here. So this is like markdown or, BB code or whatever for bold, and like how this is technically header 3, right? One hashtag is header 1, 2 is header 2, 3 is header 3. You can get pretty complex in the way that you do this. In very little use cases, it's helpful to hierarchy things that way. But coming back to kiss this thing, right? Let's keep it real simple. Or keep it super simple, or keep it simple stupid, whatever you want to use for that acronym there, is we will just use the 2. It understands that quite well enough. So here's what we'll do is I'll go to the 2 here, I'll take this bolding off, and we'll say tasks. So this is what you need to do. And these examples, anything like examples, again, I would throw this in the knowledge base. Because that's where relevant context comes from for doing something like this. I would keep your task very simple. And so a lot of people, they want to get in here and they want to say go in there and say hello, contact, yada 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 yada. Our AIs are fed just about every piece of data that's actually possible in Go High Level or contextually that we've collected. So you don't need to do all that. You can just tell the AI, greet the user. And I'll tell you something here that's pretty fun too, that I like to do is, this right here gets her done, right? That tells the AI when you converse with the user, aka contact, greet them. That's how you start off the convo. That's your first task. But using adjectives here is very, very powerful. It's a good way to convey how the AI should do something. And this is when I used to have a prompt guide that come up, and maybe I should bring it back, of ways to talk to AI, ways to prompt. One is avoiding saying don't, or negative connotations of things. The other is double negatives, and then the other is like elaborating quite too much. You want to be concise. AI is not that smart. We like to think it is, but it's not. But adjectives are a great way to tell this thing kind of how we want it to do it, right? So some people will do greet the user, and most of the time they'll kind of put out something they want, and they're like, oh, the response is very, very long. Well, you can say here on my task-based framework, I could say greet the user concisely. And this tells the AI, and in like literally 4 words, when you talk to the user, greet them and do it very briefly. So using adjectives in your task-based framework here, and using a task-based framework, is how you'll ultimately get very, very powerful AIs without much prompting. So this one will probably end up being, probably the length of this here, because we'll trim a lot of this down. But, okay, identify, 1 second. Okay, so we have number 2 here, identify the user's primary concern. So the way I'd probably do this, and I'm going to slide this out of the way because we have some conditionals that may come up on this. Politely ask the user how we can help them. And now the use case may be a bit different on this one, so we may not hit the net because I don't have too much context myself on it. But this will at least give us a guide frame of or a guideline of like telling the AI like figure out why they're here. And things like provide pricing. One, we'll probably put that in the knowledge base so that it comes up if needed. And this is something that you don't really have to tell AI to do. It kind of knows like answer queries. So if pricing comes up, it knows I will answer pricing, and that's what I need to do. And answer directly if it's a treatment inquiry. If it's a booking request, move to 5. Okay, so these may be our 2 kind of like conditionals here of how we should do it. And so give me a second, I'm going to read through here so I don't have to waste your time reading on camera, and then we'll finish up this task-based prompt. Okay, simple enough. So I'm just going to finish this out. So the pricing thing can just be handled by the AI pretty autonomously. Treatment inquiries, we'll do a conditional here, which is just 3 spaces and a dash. You can just do the dash if you want to, but it's just a good visual for me. And we'll say if the user has a treatment inquiry, make sure inform the user. Let's just say make sure to answer the user's query your available knowledge. Let's say if the user would like to book an appointment, move to the next step. Collect the user's contact information. Start by confirming their name or collecting it. If you do not have it, then confirm. Then we'll just kind of lastly, confirm their email. Click if you don't have it. We'll say for. After collecting the user's information, book an appointment. we'll keep it simple there, and we'll work our way up to complex. Create a node. Okay. I have something that I think would work pretty well for this one. Let's see. Let me confirm one or two things first before we go on. Okay, so just finalizing some stuff. So I'm going to, just for right now, I think we're going to keep it real simple here, and then we can make it a little bit more robust afterwards. Let's run it with this for right now. And I do want to look at what tools are in play here for at least when it comes to adding a tag. I know we need to add some tags, so we'll come to that in a second, but I think we're pretty set up here. Let's give her our initial test. We got an active tag connected. We're good to go. Our prompt should already be saved, but I'm gonna save it just in case. Looks like we have plenty of stuff going on here. And I'm gonna go in here to the CRM. Let's go into contacts. All right, and the custom CSS always throws me off. All right, so let's add myself in here. All right, and we'll throw my SNO 2967271. Probably needs to be +1, huh? There we go. And that should be fine. Alright, so let's go ahead and add our active tag, which is, alright, there we go. And let's run with, say, hey, Jordan. I'm gonna start off with just like a traditional, just for testing this here, like a traditional message we would send on like a post lead form follow up type thing. And now I don't know if I need to do something specific here. I don't know much about. Okay, there we go. Hopefully that'll go through. Let me check my phone to make sure I'm getting that. And let me check here if there's. I need to use like I know this is like a German. I need to see if I need to use WhatsApp. Give me 1 second. Okay, so we are on WhatsApp. Let's go here. I'll say yes. Thanks for reaching out. And we'll just totally kind of go off. That probably should have been WhatsApp. I don't even know if that'll go through. Let me switch to WhatsApp. Okay. All right. So we have our AI going through here, and hopefully it should follow the cadence of our task-based framework, which is just these 4 steps here. Are you thinking about any specific treatment, or would you like to set up the time? So let's go ahead and just test her out. Let's stretch our legs a little bit here, and let's say, let's see. Let's just say I'm not sure what treatments you have. Okay. we'll get it to stretch its legs a little bit more. But as you can see, the language is pretty casual here. And then even for these, I don't love these like of courses, so we can use the find and replace feature in here, which is this verbiage, and you can find and replace things you don't love, to make sure the verbiage comes out quite well. So let's dive into here. Okay. And we'll see if it'll pull from the knowledge base at least to give us a tangible, a nice and tangible response. Okay, testing one or two things here. The verbiage is really good, very casual. Yeah, like this doesn't, the length of it maybe seems like a little bit of a bot, but at least the verbiage is seeming very human-like, which is, we're in a step in the right direction. Let's say to respond to this, Botox. Let's make sure that we're getting proper response here. I don't know if there's much knowledge-based training on here, but that's where your knowledge base really helps out. So just kind of the cadence of where to put things, anything as far as domain knowledge, maybe example conversation data, anything to the effect of that is going to help out with these responses. You don't have to put that in the prompt. That's what the knowledge base is for. So knowledge base is not only a place for like domain knowledge, but a place for spitting out specific context, especially. Sorry about that there. Especially our knowledge base is pretty powerful when it comes to stuff like that. So it's kind of a catch-all for all the rest. That way you can keep your prompt very, very short. And I'll have to fact check. In fact, we can. I'm going to look here. I'll give you a little cheat code. You can see the embedding process here. So we'll look. Botox right there, €250. Very good. Would you like to book an appointment or do you need more information? And then we'll just run through the booking process and then we'll start to work through. They just told me that they have 39 treatments currently and they add and remove some occasionally, so our widget reflects that. Okay, that's fine. And we can inject that context too. So there's a couple ways that we can go after that one. So now we have our availability. It'll kind of come back to us on there. And so while it's getting availability, let me reply. Okay, and so this kind of comes back to the whole prompting thing, right? Where you keep your prompt really small, you're very, very concise, and you're very direct. When giving your persona, when giving your instruction, you get really good responses. Like this is very human-like, right? Like I said, maybe the length, but sounds good. How's tomorrow at 2 p.m. for your Botox appointment, or would you prefer another date? Let me know. It's not about like, of course, what about these 17 dates? Does that work for you? Or I can do a million other things. It's, you just keep you kiss it. You keep it super simple and you get really good stuff out of it. So let's go ahead and make sure that we can book. We'll say 2:30 is perfect. And as that goes through, that's going to book the appointment there. On this calendar, there's a third-party calendar type thing on this one that we're going to do on a custom tool, but that may be something for another day. So we got our appointment successfully booked in there. Easy enough. We got, maybe we need to add one or two qualifying questions in here too. So 2:30, we'll see if anything comes up. Drop us a message and have a great day. Very wonderful. Trying to think what else we need to do here. That may be it. So let me check one more time with Ben and we'll start to do the tags. And so this is a German account. So the tags are going to be in German. And I will say my strong suit is not German, but I thought that I would add this in here for things like custom tools, tags, extractions, things like that. So what I do want to put in here, so I'm going to go to these tools here, and so let's go to add tags. I'm going to create an add tag tool here. So let's say for this one, it's Botox, right? So this is the tag we want to add. And the way that these tools work, so there's a couple of these, but tag specifically is, here's the tag that we'd like to add, which is Botox. And we're telling the AI here like the condition to do it, right? So under what condition do we add this tag? And so we'll say when the user has expressed interest in Botox, add this tag. And we can even say use this tool. When the user has expressed interest in Botox, add this tag. Perfect. So we'll save those changes and we'll add it to the assistant here. And so this is how we don't have, a lot of the platforms that you may use will make you call it out in the actual prompt or say like add the tag here or do this. But by using the descriptions and things like custom tools and adding tags or removing or transfers, extractions, whatever you're using here, by using the description, this is almost like a side prompt, like a side quest. Is a great way to put it. This is like a side quest for the AI. It's saying like you have your main thing that you're doing, you have your task-based framework, right? But along the way, if the user has expressed interest in Botox, add this tag. We don't have to call this out. We don't have to say it specifically in the prompt. You can think of these things here as side quests, and the description there is like the parameters for achievement, right? In that same example. And so that's what makes some of these tools very powerful is we don't have to say, in our prompt, we don't have to cloud up a prompt here and say, if this happens, do this. If this happens, do this. If this happens, do this. We can focus on what is our main task here, right, in the task-based framework. And along the way, if there's some tags we need to add, if there's some extractions we need to make, if there's some, appointment booking or tools or whatever we need to do, we can use the description to our advantage to autonomously let the AI know, like, under these conditions you do this. I don't have to tell you to do it. That's how the booking and all works here too. So a lot of platforms, when you do appointment booking, you have to have this crazy appointment booking flow. But because we're very tedious in the way that that we build our tools, or the in-house tools that you see here, the pre-built tools, you can just say book an appointment, and it understands the cadence of how to, given the descriptions and everything that we've put in for prompt injection. So it makes it super, super easy. So with a simple prompt like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, we're able to get a pretty cohesive conversation with good casual verbiage while booking an appointment, and everyone is super happy. So we'll run this test again now. Okay, so let's go here, and I'm just going to reset my conversation. Easy enough. And let's go back in here and we'll run it again. So we've wiped the memory of the assistant, which is why we don't have to delete the contact and everything. We'll keep it on here. We've wiped the memory in the Assistable platform. So let's start this conversation again like it never happened. So we're going in here. We should receive the conversation data in here. And then also we should be getting something here. Perfect. Okay. Thanks for filling out the form. And I think I made tests. So we did on this one, we did the Botox thing here. And I think I'll just test this one out as just kind of an example to show you, like, I don't have to call that out in the prompt, right? Like, I can just kind of let that happen. And so I'll say, I saw different services. What did you have? And so we'll let the AI let us know what it has. And again, on things like this, knowledge base is going to be your best friend. Like, this is where you put that information at. You don't need it in the prompt. You really don't, right? And I know we're deep into this. If you're 40 minutes into this, though, I really fuck with you. 40 minutes into learning how to build AI, huh? But there's like different places you want to put these things, right? So like we want to keep our prompt very concise because we do not want our AI confused in any sort of way, right? Which it comes from fatigue of a very long prompt. It happens on just that's just how AI works. And so that's why we use all these like outside and external tools that we put together for you, so that you can keep your prompt very concise. You can keep it on target and focused, while having those things like domain knowledge and tool calling, you know, out there in the wayside for you to use, right? So we have our tools, which all have like almost like mini prompts in them, right? So we don't really have to add those in there, right? We have our knowledge base, which is going to be like domain knowledge, pricing, anything that comes along with, you know, a lead and ask a question, or a current client ask a question and we need to answer it with like true tangible information. It's injected for you with our process. So if we go here, for example, you know, we'll take a look here because this may need to be refined, but just to give you an example of where we're pulling this from. um, I don't speak German, so I don't know what this is. But it kind of looks like we need a little bit more in there for the knowledge base, right? Just to make sure that that domain knowledge is like very fruitful, to make sure it's giving accurate responses. And what we can always do here is, I have something in here for avoiding. Actually, I don't think I do. Let's see. We'll say avoid. Um, And one I like to do is tell the AI it's okay to say I'm not sure, or because it comes with this like, um, you know, this preconceived notion of like I need to give an answer because, you know, I kind of serve humans and I was built to, you know, answer their questions. And so what we can do here is we can say, um, it is okay. Um, if you do not know something for certain, it is okay. It is fine to say you don't know. Avoid responding with not information you're not 100% certain of. Okay. So let's go here. Botox fillers, laser therapy. Okay. Botox sounds cool. And so we'll kind of test the idea of like the autonomous tools, right? Of where you don't have to prompt and say, if they, you know, want Botox, put Botox in. Like that's the point of these descriptions and the tools, is so that it can kind of like, it's like I said, like a side quest. And so now if we look here, tag Botox added. If I refresh here, can you believe this high level? How cool is this? You know, this custom high level build out. I thought this was pretty fun. But while that refreshes, and it starts at 250 euro, and we did pull that from the knowledge base. I know that because I saw that on the last test. And if we go down here to tags, we do have tag Botox. Wonderful. All right. So, smooth lines are just curious. Thinking about smoothing lines around, we'll say smoothing lines, the smile lines. What I mean, because I don't even know what I mean. Which is going to be like most leads don't know what they're talking about, and that's kind of the whole point of, you know, sales, is to educate and you know, make sure that they're given all the correct information they need. Perfect. We'll say, do you have anything next week? And so on this one, we probably won't do it here because I don't want this video to go like 17 hours. But on this one, we're going to use custom tools to do booking rather than the ones that we have pre-built for you. That's, by the way, the whole point of V2 is these custom tools make it very, very powerful for you to pretty much build whatever you need. If you need multi-calendar booking, if you need Calendly.com booking, if you need third-party platform booking, whatever it is, you can use custom tools for that. And custom tools are very, very powerful to be able to not only send data places, but understand the consequences of that data. For example, going out and getting calendar times, it understands, what that is. And even in the context of what it needs to get, this thing's very, very smart. Spent a lot of money and time on building this thing for you. So, how about Thursday? What is the date on Thursday? So I can check my calendar. All right. And let's see on that last response, maybe we can see the embedding here. You can see some verbiage training perhaps there. And then on this one, yep, we could see a little verbiage training. And we'll say Thursday would be September 19th. Okay, perfect. How late can you do appointments? Because it is pulling the context of this call, right? So it understands how late it can do appointments on which day. Requested next week, so we're here next week, Thursday. So it looks like the latest we can go on Thursday, maybe at 11 p.m. Yeah, there we go. And this is just a first video out of many. This was a great opportunity to come in here and help somebody out, and hopefully, like I said, along the way, be able to kind of show and tell some of the features of V2 and why it's so powerful and why it's so exciting to get into on some of this stuff that, there is a bit of a learning curve, but once you kind of understand that learning curve, which is, really not that much, it's a very powerful processor. It's a very powerful model. It makes it to where you can literally do anything with AI, from sales to support to ops, customer success. You can pretty much hit just about everything you need in servicing a client with models that are not only very, very intelligent, but can do a lot of cool things. So, okay. Nope, that's fine. Thank you. All right. And so I think he may be coming in here and adding some of these. I think he's going to come in here and add some of these tags, but it was just a good example to kind of show adding the tag Botox. And, there's 39 of them, I think, but it just kind of comes down to like putting it in there and saying under what condition we add those things, which makes it very, very powerful. We do the same thing with ours when it comes to like how many sub accounts, what kind of plans they need. That's how we keep up with everything, is with tags. It's just a great way to filter in a CRM, or really any tool that uses tags. It's a great way to filter. And so it looks good, and we're all good to go. So I hope that's helpful. I'm not going to run it over any further. We still have some work to do, but I thought it would just be a quick blip to get you started, to get you where you need to be, and you can kind of see where we started to where we're at and how we were able to reduce, a prompt that was here 5 pages down to maybe we can let's do a juxtaposition. Okay, wow. We're able to take what was a 5-page prompt into less than a page and make the outputs a little bit more customized to what we need and still follow a very, very good flow and do what it's supposed to do. So I think this, if I want to prove anything by this video, is like don't overcomplicate it. I know some platforms, make you, but I was an agency owner too, and while I've been messing with AI 24/7 for the past who knows how long years, like I understood what it felt like to not, to not be as well versed. So I understand that, and that's the whole reason this thing was even created. And when you come to these things, I want you to understand that if you keep it real simple, you keep it concise. I know you want to get kind of crazy with some of this stuff, use the tools and things like that, or just keep it real simple. Most clients can get by with what I just showed you, and there's really not much more that they need, right? It's just a really cool use cases, or if you have some lead magnets where the other stuff may come up, but keep it simple, kiss it, keep it super simple. And you can see that we brought a 5-page prompt down to this one, and I haven't tested in German, but I'm not German, so we'll probably have a back and forth on that just to make sure everything's where it needs to be. But that is V2 in a nutshell, right? Just a simple example. I'm going to create a ton of these today, and over the next few days and the next few weeks, you'll see different build outs of different kinds and different use cases that we can tackle with V2 in a very powerful way. So I hope that's helpful.